before I go to print, I might boost a little bit of the details on the head. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. But there's really nice tools to boost details now without having to keep your layers necessarily. Like a lot of tools have this now. I think Ryan's tool, there's like amp detail. See, it's pretty good at it. Works better if you have layers, as far as I remember. But yeah, it goes pretty well. I've been using it on the Four Horsemen, and yeah, it went pretty well. So yeah, oh, thanks for the follow. So if any of you have any question about her, how much polygons? Yeah, that's the one question. Yeah, I'll answer it. It's like I don't know. Thanks for the follow. I just don't know how much polygons. I never check. I'll tell you since you're asking, but it's just to say that like I don't care how much poly it has, because and the reason why I don't care, it's because I always try to work in a way that I don't really like look for that. For example, if it gets like too laggy, I chop my scene into many Z tools. I only regroup it at the very end when I know that I don't have any manipulations to do anymore. Like for example, like this scene here. In this scene, I already have like a lot of like key frames, and all those keyframes are already like the angles that I want to use at least for my ZBrush renders. Well, one thing that is worth mentioning, actually not, I'll just answer your question before going back to this, but it says 305 million, well, let's round it up, 306 million polygons on this one. So King's Letter, you were very close. I don't even know how you got to that number. Did you just guess? As if you guessed, you would win on The Price is Right. Absolutely. Good job at that. You counted. Did you count every polygon? You counted all of them. You, sir, are counting like a machine. Is the cloth sculpted or simmed? It's all sculpted. Well, actually, no. The cloth that is here, like this, I used the good old. Wait. Well, yeah, good old cloth hook. There we go. That's how I did those big folds here. I'll remove a couple of subtools just so it actually goes like a little bit faster. There we go. So yeah, so for like for example like this part here, it was or like even like the part on top here, I just used a cloth hook. So for example, how it works. Let's say like let's completely scrap this mesh here. I'll show you. The amount of geometry of polygon on that mesh might be a bit too high, but I think you'll see like the point. So if I have a brush like this, oops, let's say I elongate it a little bit more like this. If I push it with a cloth hook, it'll give me like a bit of like those wrinkles here. Sometimes I reduce the strength. Sometimes it's just like a bit too radical. And also right now I feel that the folds are a little bit too high frequency, like too small, too pinched. Not pinched, but too small. Normally you can fix that by having a lower amount of subdivision. Like, I don't know, I cannot really go lower. Oh, well, no, you know what? I can't because of those little meshes here. But if I could, it would give me just like fatter wrinkles. So and yeah, you can do that with like every cloth piece and everything. For the ones that are floating, just undo everything. For the ones that are floating, this is just like ZBrush manipulation, because I really wanted to have a very fixed flow to them. But with the horseman, I actually used the cloth hook again. And the reason why I used the cloth hook on the horseman is because they actually have like I wanted it to look more chaotic, since they're a little bit more like crazy and stuff. So if I take War, for example, like to get a bit of like that, or let's open the turntable here. So you see that there's a bit more of like a chaotic like silhouette to them. So I used a cloth hook to give that kind of like that silhouette, basically. Yep. Up. I forgot to turn the autosave off. Bento Ribeiro, thanks, man. Thanks. The face is 100% handmade poly paint, or you used map projection. I think I started with like a head that I did in the past that actually had texture already on it, kind of like a base. But I did add all the makeup and like the colors where I wanted. Some colors really didn't match. Plus, I think the map that I had was a Caucasian woman, and since she's more like Hispanic, I wanted her to have like a bit darker skin. So I did that manipulation. So yeah. So just adding extra detail till computer explodes. Gotcha. Well, the thing also is, and that's where I was going to. That's what I was going to say is that I'll always make sure that I don't have a subdivision that's higher than what I need. So, for example, if I take this piece here, so you can see like pretty quickly that there's a low amount of subdivision for this piece here. But the thing is that like I know that we will never focus more than like this on the bust area. And I know that if I print it in that size, we won't see this amount of detail. So for me, it's really important to not overdo it in subdivision and really know what you need. Like the part that I needed the most resolution was this here, because I really wanted to have like a crisp amount of detail in between the hexagons. So this piece was probably like pretty high, but and the amount of subdivision is pretty high for sure. Like for a mesh that was that on its first level, 6 subdivision, it goes pretty high for sure. Like just this piece alone is like 8 million. Is that really it? 8 million? Let's do this. Yeah, 8 million for this. So it's like it's not a lot of surface, but I needed that for this amount of detail. If you go high like this in amount of detail now, that's where you're actually like starting to get like pretty up there in terms of millions of polys. So also this part here, because I wanted this like little like dot detail. Yeah. At the top it says polygon 349 million, which the actually poly number of everything. So I subtracted exceedant of 40 million. Kingslayer, you are a ZBrush math god. Pixel lasers, so awesome. That shiny eye effect, even on preview screen. Oh yeah, this is just the This is just the toy plastic. Yeah, toy plastic. That's it. I mean, it works well. Raphael Bushner. Wow, awesome. Thanks. All those details take so much time. Yep, it does for sure. It's awesome. Thanks. Honestly, wasn't expecting such a detailed response. Thank you so much. Hey, it's my pleasure. That's what this hour is for. Hour or 30 minutes, whatever how long it's going to last. Also, I got a little I actually did not present that online, so this is like an exclusive for people on Twitch or YouTube. There's going to be 2 versions. There might be actually 2 versions for the weapons. So I'm thinking of actually having the staff as one piece and the staff broken into. So you see, like this portion here, it cuts right here into a sword and a hammer, kind of like a club or like a morning star. It's more like a morning star with stems, with spines, and like a little spike. So I'm thinking that what she can do is she can probably like take that piece here, this one, use it either like as a morning star or even kind of like throw it, and like the dart at the end would actually like stick to the ground, and like this could be used as like kind of like a beacon or some like some EMP weapon. Like the whole idea of like who she is basically her power. She's kind of like a let's say we're using a medieval or Dungeon and Dragon terms. Like she would be more like a sorceress. Like the staff is made to represent like this Gandalf-esque kind of thing, right? I still wanted her to have like a sword because yeah, just because just to give some choices for people who would buy the statue. And so yeah, the idea for her is, since she's the archangel, the messenger archangel, the way that I see it is like messenger is like shooting beams and everything. So like I transformed Gabriel, the messenger archangel, into like this warrior that actually sends like EMP to kind of like neutralize or destroy machinery, since the enemies are the 4 horsemen and the other androids. Well, the enemies for her, right? I mean, it's just a question of perspective. But yeah, the idea is that like she would actually like use like EMPs and like sound EMPs and that sort of stuff to kind of like yeah, destroy androids, machinery, and that sort of stuff. Like this, that's the general idea, right? Without going too much into details. So yeah, 2 versions of the weapon. I actually made 2 versions of the weapons for Michael and Raphael also, but I just did it like this week, so I didn't have time to present it yet. Howdy, Marco. Hey, Talden. Yeah, nobody's gonna notice. I was wondering how much time it takes to make something this complex. I know speed comes with practice, but it's still a little frustrating for me to count the time spent on a model. Well, I mean, this is a pretty complex character. If I just accumulate all the time that it took me, it's probably something like, I don't know, 3 to 4 weeks, I guess. Maybe more like 3. But I don't get to work on it 8 hours per day, so it took me a little bit longer. I just mean if I worked on it like 8 hours per day. But like I said, yeah, I've been working in this industry for like 10 plus years, right? So yeah, with practice comes speed for sure. Don't beat yourself up if you can't go that fast at the beginning. That's totally normal. Rigging it would take a lot of time too. Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good idea. Hey, thanks. What are the measurement of the print Well, it's probably going to be printed in 1/4, so it's going to be as big as the Batman Shogun Batman that I did for XM. How long did it take you to make this start to finish? Sorry, I've already answered this. Well, yeah, I've just answered it right now. Do you do polymodeling for some of the art surface parts? No, absolutely not. Well, I mean, you know what? No, wait. Sometimes I do. Very rarely, sometimes I do. Let's try to find a piece that maybe I used polymodeling for. All right, let's find it together. What about this piece here? Okay, so I cannot go like that low, but you see that there's kind of like a polygon flow, like here for this piece. Maybe I did for this piece. Actually, sometimes I use Z-remesher to make like the mesh. Well, I had the blocking that I did not use anything for sure. Well, you see, like this piece here, I knew is going to be very rectangular, so I ended up kind of like, this is not my lowest subdivision. I can't get it lower because there's other subtools attached to it. But this one, I used a little bit of like polymodeling to get the final mesh. So yeah, sometimes I use polymodeling inside of Zbrush. Thanks for the follow. The idea is to use the least amount possible. I really prefer the sculpting approach, but yeah, like this piece here. See, like the entire backpack piece, I did not use polymodeling for this one. There's still a Z-remesh applied to it, but there wasn't really like polymodeling. That being said, I'm always careful whatever Z-remesh gives me. I want to make sure that it actually is useful. So sometimes I'll be using like this piece was made with the Z-remesh, but I made sure to actually have different polygroups for different angles so that ZBrush gives me something clean with the Z-remesh. If you want to know how I actually did what's my technique with Z-remesh, I would say just go and check on my YouTube. There's a whole series on the Mantis character that I did that shows this technique over and over and over again. So, like for anybody that are new here, if you want to know anything about me or my company, at the bottom of the screen, right here, see Marco's links here and Chaos Mason's links here. You can click on any of the two, well, or just type them in your URL, or go in the profile in the Twitch and or in the description, YouTube, and you can access like all of our links. You can follow us anywhere. We just opened a Discord channel. Yeah, that would be a nice time to talk about our Discord channel. And on this, you can find whatever information that that you want. So yeah, follow us, encourage us, all that stuff. Spread the love. And yeah, we just opened this week, like 3 days ago, our Discord channel, and it's great. There's a lot of people that that joined really fast, so I'm extremely happy to see that. We're like 3 days in, we're at like 900 or something people, and more people are welcomed, and it's pretty cool. People are using it to share their art and stuff. I always check everything. I always scroll through, click on stuff. I really like to have people like joining and showing their things. Some people asking questions also, so it's pretty nice. And also by joining the channel, I always post when there's like new things that pops online. I always post it, so you don't miss one single thing. Yeah, and it's pretty cool. All right, let's check the chat. Marco, you're the best. Thank you. Great looking piece. Thanks, man. Thanks. Favorite Twitch channel from now on. Thanks, Floyd. Favorite 3D learning channel. Hey, thanks, Jay Styles. Pretty cool. Do you have any full course online? Well, we have tutorials. If you look at the links that I show here are here. You can go on our Gumroad and there's tutorials you can buy that are more like condensed. Because right now this is just like me streaming, talking, having fun. So it's not necessarily the most condensed information. But if you want to have condensed information, yep, just check our YouTube, our Gumroad or the store page or whatever. All right, so let's start at the bottom here. Let's see what I have to say about this piece. All right, the rocks. The rocks were really made to actually account for the weight distribution. Oops, sorry. Zoom out, there we go. This scene is pretty heavy, right? So sometimes the controls are upper finicky. But yeah, the base was really made to take into account the weight distribution. Also take for account to actually like be able to have the possibility to have like a long metal rod going through most of the character. So yeah, since like the posing is kind of like she's not resting vertically on the base, so yeah, it's a bit tricky, but should work like this, like with a rod going from like here to here. All right, so rocks, don't know if that's the most interesting. The every little texture that I make, like the dots, I always have them as like I always use UVs to place them. So often I'll just make quick UVs in Z whatever, like UV master here. And that's how I place the effects afterwards. Yeah, thanks for the follow. And there's a lot that they already give you in the surface noise maker thing here. See if I reapply noise, you see that was the dots. So for this one, I knew I was not going to place any detail in the center of that shape because there's like a subtool on top of it. So the seams is actually like right smack in the middle, so that there's no seam on the sides here. Yeah, same thing for the details on this cloth part and the kind of like Kevlar armor thing here. Yeah, of course, there's two versions for the head for this one. Boom. I also have the helmet version, so she fits with the other archangels. I didn't close the hand on the hammer yet. That's what I'm doing tomorrow if I have time. Do you actually confirm the noise, or do you just do it for the mask? Well, no. I mean, I actually go in surface and I apply it as mesh on a layer. Then I decide the strength of the layer. That's pretty much how I go by it. Edit, sorry. Huh. There's something that moved right there. There's kind of like a little issue. I'm gonna actually take note. I just saw something. All right, I'll fix that. Fix that later. So yeah, like for the I got rid of the layers in that one. Well, yeah, you see, like this piece here is made of like two different surface noise. One that is the hexagons, and one that is actually just like this like random textile noise. So you see, if I reapply noise, it's still there. It's just that I actually used morph target to make it like go away and be only on the white part. And that's how I got the mix of the two of them. You know, somebody was asking me what the helmet looks like without the hoodie. It's unfinished. There you go. I'll actually remove the. There you go. So it's absolutely unfinished. It was just like a basic shape. I reused a couple of elements from the helmet of the other guys. Yeah. How do you approach hair aspects? Do you use separate mesh for each strings, using some fiber mesh, or just sculpting it out of a block as a solid piece? Well, when I do a piece that's only going to be a render, I actually use fiber mesh, especially when I have, like, for example, if you do like a cape and the end of the cape is all like destroyed, I use fiber mesh for that. Like, for example, yeah, see, while it's saving. Like on this character, to it. Well, there's probably some on Finn. Did I use fiber mesh here? Oh yeah, the end of the jeans. You see, like where like the jeans is kind of like ripped. I used fiber mesh for that. For his hair as well, I think. Although I repainted them in Photoshop afterwards for the key angle. But this guy here, yeah. Okay, so you see on the side of the hoodie, that's all fiber mesh, actually. I just masked the edge here, used fiber mesh. That's it. But it's not going to print, so it's not necessarily like a good thing. It's really more for the show, I'd say. But for hair, since you're asking me the process, all right, let's remove the lower body. I see. You can see the armor, the body actually exists under, really to make sure that the thing actually works in terms of anatomy. This is like a complete waste of time if it wasn't to calculate the anatomy. I did have to make sure that the armpit thing here looks good because you can see under the cloth though. But yeah, the rest is not really visible. But since I already did the undersuit for the two first Archangels, I actually had it, so it was kind of like easy to just adapt it to her body and stuff. Um, like I don't know how much of the undersuit is. You see, that's kind of like the figure, but it doesn't really work this area here on top because I kind of like pushed things in, and like this, it's kind of like too rounded, but it's actually made just to compensate for stuff that's added on top. So yeah, it's part of like the figure. You can see some parts are unfinished because the armor was added on top of it. Anyways, let's keep it like this. So yeah, for the hair, I'll just read quickly the other questions. I'll go back to the hair since it might actually take a little bit of time. I was wondering the step that you do for the posing of the character. Does the Mantis series that you have posted on YouTube go through the process? Absolutely, yeah. And it would be probably easier to tell you to watch. It's actually even named in the title. I called it like posing, and it's in one of the final videos. So I would actually encourage you to go check it out. It's kind of like a complex step, but although it's complex, it does save a lot of time to actually work on the character and symmetry, and then pose it afterwards. So yeah. Do you use Dynamic at all the time? In the first steps of blocking and such, all the time. Even sometimes when I do like not absolutely complete polish pieces, sometimes I'll just keep them in the Dynamesh. It's one of my favorite tools. I have a couple of years of experience as a character art for video games and follow you and All Chaos Mason for a long time, so I am really interested to know what you look in the portfolio of a character artist when hiring. Um, I look. My suggestion is that you actually have like 70% of your portfolio. Thanks for the follow. 70% of your portfolio that's actually what you really want to do, and 30% that's kind of like trying to please what companies want to see. And the thing that people need the most in character art is mostly like people that have like clothing on them. So like a good anatomy. You don't need to be extremely good in anatomy, but you need to actually have like solid foundations. You need to actually know how to do cloth. You need to know Marvelous. You need to actually like know how to use like Zbrush as well to make cloth good. So I would encourage you to know cloth. You know how to sculpt cloth by hand as well, because it shows when somebody is using Marvelous but is not really able to make it look good afterwards with Zbrush, or to fix it to look aesthetic. So you need to have like all your foundations of cloth sculpting done. So yeah, clothing and some armored piece at least. Hard surface armor piece, that sort of stuff. Either actually I'd say sci-fi and medieval. That helps. Yeah, I would suggest that. Seeing faces is good, but it's not primordial because people are using a lot of scans now. But it's great to see that an artist is good at doing faces, because it shows like a certain anatomy skill, which is necessary. So yeah, I mean that's probably what I would have to say about that. So complex. I imagine it was a pain in the ass to work without the folder update. Well, I mean, I always had the folder update, so there you go. Hi, Cornflakes. How many full characters do you recommend for a portfolio? Um, Wow, I don't know. I never thought of that. I'm just gonna say a random number that feels right. I'll say 5. Because lower than that, sometimes it's like doesn't seem like a lot. It kind of like gives the impression that the artist might be a bit slow at doing characters. But at the end, it's very hard to say, and I don't really look at it that simply. But of course, the more character, the better. But I mean, I think we hired people that had not a lot of characters in the portfolio because we saw some potential in them. So yeah. Anyways, so to go back to the hair. Okay. So the hair is all in one piece at the moment. I think I'll just break it into like mini subtools so it's easier to explain. So let's just take a second and delete all subdivisions. Let's just sorry, use the transpose line to mask out the separate pieces. So we got rid of the bigger block. Now let's get rid of the bigger hair strands. All right. So this is the first piece. If I go down here to its lowest, so this is its lowest subdivision level. So this was a Dynamesh that at some point I was like, that shape is good. So let's go with the shape. So I just said remeshed it, reprojected it, and then I use that to sculpt. So if so the colored piece is the one that is selected right now. So you see, like basically, like I just sculpted some like random hair flow. I like to sculpt with simply with using a clay buildup, but I actually make sure that the lazy step is very low, and sometimes I need to reduce the Z intensity. And like let's say I just like smooth it out. I just find that it's actually like just pretty good at just making line, but also like adding mass in clumps. So often I'll use that as like a first base for the hair. And after that, I like to use orb crack to make like smaller hair frequencies like this. And if I feel that I have too much hair frequency, I like to use trim dynamic to kind of like flatten some areas and to reduce the frequency of detail in this area. And if I did that too much, I can always go back to there we go. So this is kind of like how I do it. This is how I do it. A little reference for people my age. So yeah, so this is the base level. By the way, like I said, sorry again for the sniffling. I hear myself, and I hope it's not bothering people too much. Sorry, starting to get to me. Many thanks for the tips. Appreciated. Hey, it's my pleasure. What do you think about using Fusion 3D for more complicated hard surface elements? I'm not interested at all. I tried it. It's not my workflow. I don't like it. But I'm not saying that it's a bad software or anything. It's just not my thing. I saw some pretty cool people using it, some pretty good people using it and making excellent things. So it's as great of software as any, depending on what you want to do. I guess that if you want to do like more like orthographic things, less like gestural and flowy things, semi-organic things, it's probably pretty good. But since it's not the kind of stuff that I do, I've never really pushed the envelope with that software. And no problem, J Styles. Amazing. Thank you for your answer. No problem. You can't hear. Sorry about that. You can't hear my sniffling over your sniffling. That's good. So yeah, so this was for the base of the hair. Now for these parts here, the way that I work for making anything that goes over the hair is very simple. It's always the same thing. I always start with curved tube. So like if you draw a curved tube, it's simply going to appear like this. And then you can actually complete it also. Like this. Boom, there we go. Make sure you actually like have the little like red line. This means that it's going to continue the line. So this line was not really aesthetic. It doesn't need to be perfect necessarily, but boom, there you go. I'm just going to split it into a different subtool by masking it, doing a split hidden. I'm going to delete the spline. There we go. All right. So this hair right there. It's not necessarily really flowy. You can always use like smooth directional to kind of like smooth the curve a little bit. And once that you have that, you can subdivide it. Like I subdivided it like 2 times, and you can actually try to figure out what is width needs to be. And for that, what I use is move with some backface. So when you move with backface, you can actually kind of like the side of the. I'll go back to the normal smooth. I'll just lower the strength. And you can kind of like the side on the width, and also the width. Let's remove backface. And thanks for the follow, by the way. I'm forgetting my manners. That's because I'm sick. Don't be mean with me. I'm sick. Poor little Marco is sick, so don't be mean, or I'll tell my mom. Sorry. My God, I have to stop. Okay, so basically the move backface helps you have like the width that you want. And you can also use move. Let's put the backface again. You move it in that direction. You can also choose kind of like the width of it. Not the width, but the depth, I should say, maybe. And once that you have this mesh, well, now you can subdivide it even more, and you can go in it and even apply like mid-level. Thanks for the follow. Like mid-level transformation. Well, this was not enough subdivision, so let's subdivide it again. So you can do all that stuff that I showed earlier. This is not necessarily well done, but yeah, this is pretty much like how I did for all the pieces, for all the meshes. I think I'm gonna call that episode the COVID episode. Let's say how much the algorithm of YouTube is gonna censor me or push me at the top of the YouTube list. So yeah, that's for that piece here. I'm gonna delete it. And sometimes when I do like one piece, do a lot of the knot. By the way, I just have like a subtool that I use for making knots. I showed them in the video earlier of the Elden Frog. So I would suggest that you go and check it out. So once again, at the bottom of the screen here, you have the links for my stuff and the links for my company. A lot of them, they direct in the same place. But if you go check on our YouTube channel, you can check older videos. In the Frog Elden Ring one, I show like my brush that does those knots here. So I basically used that for the hair right there, and then I applied some sculpting on it. And sometimes I do also like twirls manually, but this is just basically hand sculpted. And when you're doing like hair strands that are floating in the air, yeah, you just have to make sure that the flow is nice, and also try to vary your width. So you see, like, to have like this frequency of like small, big, small, big, small, like this. It's kind of like important. In every angle, don't do just one angle. Always check at least 2-3 angles, front, side, top, especially for floating pieces. I find that for like floating things like this, floating line flow, you really need to check 3 angles. Make sure it looks good in all of them. That's what I do for everything like this: capes, hair, tentacles, whatever flowing in the air. Yeah, because otherwise you'll get like an angle that it looks weird, and you want to get the least amount of that, like, angles that the hair is just like, what's that movement? I want to get rid of that. And so the final pieces are the smaller hair like this. And this is really to just like break the monotony, because if it wasn't there, like, it would be fine. But I mean, this like adds like an added I don't know, naturalism, I guess. I don't know. I like it. All right, I like it. Oh my god. How many people can tell that my energy is much lower than it usually is? Where are the dad jokes? I guess that's what people are asking, eh? Pistol Pete, is that Siri? No. But I can see why you're asking. Pistol Pete, how are you doing? I have COVID. Maybe not. I don't think it was COVID. But it's fun to say. I want to be part of the gang. I want to be one of the cool ones. Of course, I'm facetious. It sucks. So yeah. I hope it helped you understand how I do the hair. Yeah, there's not much subdivision on this tool here. Also, when I match hair meshes together, I always make sure that they have somewhat of the same sub resolution for its lower subdivision level. Yep. What do you have? Oop, the head is not at the same place with the hoodie. I wanted to check what she looks like with the hoodie, with the non-helmet version of the head. But alas, I shan't. All right, let's check the chat a little bit. Let's see what you lovely people have to say. A wise man, that's Floyd 3D. Early start, nice. Yeah, I've been here for a while. Venetius09, hey there, J-Style. Polkomesh, for some of the more basic shaped agreeables, do you always use alpha or do you sculpt some of them? For some of the more basic shapes agreeables, do you always the basic shape agreeables? Do you have an example of what you mean by a basic shape agreeables? By any chance? Like, for example, like this is an alpha. This is a combination of alpha and meshes, different meshes. It's often like alphas or simply like mask. I just do the mask and then I apply it. Yeah, this is mostly how. I just saw something else I need to fix tomorrow. So maybe if you can actually like point to something like the little slot shape detail, semicircle. Well, I mean here it's mostly just like the mesh that I pushed in, so it's a combination. Yeah, that was more like a mask thing, actually. First time chatter, Zukuna, boring. Well, all right, I guess leave. Nobody's holding you. Hey Marco, how you doing? Hey Pramad, nice to see you. That's Siri, blah blah. Love to have COVID, yeah. Ah, puis lui, pas pire au final. Yep, that was amazing. Thank you. What part of the computer is most important in order to handle this high poly count? It's CPU. CPU is the most important for this. Codeers assemble. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So like 430 said, CPU for Zbrush. Yeah. Bless you. Metal U2, is there ever a reason to subdivide Dynamesh, or is it better to just remesh and project details? I prefer to always Z-remesh and project details. Z-remesh, subdivide, and then project detail, because sometimes when you subdivide Dynamesh, it kind of like doesn't want to reconstruct subdivision later afterwards. It's kind of weird. Plus, also, Z-remesh has so much stars and like weird topology that, like, for some actions, I find that it doesn't really understand what I'm trying to do. And also, I love to always have a lower subdivision to work on, because sometimes some maneuvers, I find that they actually work better when they're applied on a lower subdivision, like smoothing or moving stuff, that sort of stuff. Like all the little slot shape. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I actually answered your question, Pankomesh. Let me know. Dufakanzan, love your work. Well, thank you. That's appreciated. Hi, Marco. Long time no see. The fog has finished. The fog. Do you mean the frog? The frog is not finished. I was not able to work on my stuff for 2 weeks. It's just that I actually have finished Gabriel the Archangel, and I'm just talking about her a little bit. For me, Marco streams are the most cool time I have my whole week, honestly. Well, thanks for saying that. That's appreciated. Much appreciated. I see. Thank you for the insight. Well, it's my pleasure. Is this stream an exception, or are you gonna stream from time to time? I mean, this is gold. Thanks, Floyd Treaty. This is Well, usually on Wednesday I work on this other character, the frog character. I might work on him a little bit. I just wanted to like talk about this character a little bit, then jump back on the frog. But no, I do that every Wednesday. Sometimes I try to do more than that. It's kind of hard, to, the job, the family, and everything to handle. Uh, um, J Styles, well, thanks for that. Really appreciated. Thank you for the support, everyone. Cool. All right. Thanks, Pete. All right. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any other question about this character, because I might just jump on the frog model that I was working on. What do you think are the most important things to know for doing hard surface in ZBrush? It's the hard surface visual language. It's kind of like you need to understand the fundamentals of what makes a model actually look hard surface. There is the cleanliness of the shapes, not the shapes, but I mean the like, for example, if you look at the surface, like the angles must actually look really clean, and it doesn't need to be necessarily straight. It can be curved, but it does need to look clean. So make sure that there's no like weird. The way that the light shines on it must be like somewhat constant, even if there's like a curve or something. So this is like number one. Then there's the entire treatment for the thickness, like the kind of like detail you'll put on the thickness of a plate. That, but it's pretty much the same as just saying that you have to understand kind of like the visual language for the details, what makes something look sci-fi, and also hard surface. It depends what era we're talking about. It can be like Warhammer hard surface is a much different deal than, for example, those Archangels. Like this kind of like hard surface is much more like clean, polished. It's less like brute force, like Warhammer models, I'd say. Is this one of the Heavenly Character series? Yep, one of the Archangels. I saw one or two other angelic-like characters over your past few streams. Absolutely. Oh, I inserted. Yeah. How do you deal with dynamic subdivision? I mean, what do you mostly use it for? I use it to check what my polish of a piece will look like before I actually apply it. So if I work on a plate that has like a certain, well, it's going to be hard to grab a piece because all my pieces are finished here. But yeah, let's try to take like that little piece here, for example. Oops. Jesus. All right. There we go. So for example, if I return to the lowest subdivision of that piece here. Okay, it was this here. So this, so you see that this piece, let's say if I remove all the higher levels, it was a piece like this. I don't know what I created it from. Probably just like a cube that I used at remesh. And you see it has creases, different polygroups, but mostly it has creases. And to be able to see what it will look like when I subdivision, well, I like to use dynamic subdivision. So if you go here, dynamic subdivision here, you click on dynamic, and you'll see that it'll give you kind of like an idea of like what it will do. It's also important in crease to actually like play with your crease level, because if you, for example, if you put it to 3, you see how much like more like sharper it gets. And you can also like put it to like 4 or 5 to have it even more smoothed. And playing with your crease level is going to actually just impact how sharp your edges are. So this is I always use this to kind of like pre-calculate what's going to be the curvature of my mesh. And well, this is the end result, but there's also some stuff that I did over it, right? It's not an exact replica, but I think it represents the idea of what I'm talking about. How often do you use Booleans? 0.1%. It's a nice tool, but I don't necessarily work. I work with Booleans personally. Use Shadowbox to sketch assets? Not really. Sometimes, maybe. Not often. Yes, the dynamic meshes again, Pete. What's your preferred Boolean workflow? Because I know there's like 6 different ways to do it in ZBrush. Like I said, not really using it. I'm just using, when I use it, is I just use like the pieces there. But I use it for print. So if you're curious to know how I use it, I would suggest you go in my YouTube channel, boop, 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 here or here, and just go and check the one about the 3D printing. And I show how I use Booleans there. So yeah, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. Alright, so it's 9 out of 10. Sorry again. Yeah, alright, so at this point, do I ever use micropoly? Well, I use nanomesh, especially to make like chainmails and stuff like that. Anything that's like a repetition of meshes. Yeah. So yeah. I think, I don't know if like anybody have like questions about like this model, or if it's time for me to go to the next model. Because if it's time to go to the next model, I might just take maybe 2 minutes to go and make myself another hot tea, and while I load the model.